This is day 15? I think I'm on day 15. The reading for today is Genesis chapter 43 through 45. I'm going to make this one pretty quick. This is a continuation of Joseph and his story. Okay, so it starts out in 43. Now remember, Joseph's brothers had gone back to their father after getting the corn or wheat or whatever it was, the food. And on their way back, they found out that the money was still in their bags. The money to pay for the food was still in their bags. So they went back home, and it says here at the beginning of chapter 43. Now the famine in the land grew more severe, so when they had used up all the rations, I'm thinking, what about Simon or Simeon? What was his name? Simeon? Their brother. What about their brother? It's like, oh, we'll just sit here and eat and leave him as a slave. Simeon. We'll leave him as a slave. It's my throat again. Hold on. Goodness, it's this dry air. So, they're sitting out there, back home, eating and drinking, whatever. And Simeon is, God knows where, prison, maybe? The Joseph's slave? And they're just going to be like, we're here, we got enough food. We'll worry about Simeon when our food runs out. And their father tells them, go back, get more food. Did he not notice one of his sons were missing? I mean, I know the man's a two-bit whore and he produced a lot of children. But he didn't notice one of them was missing. I would call that a negligent father. He's a deadbeat dad. One of the brothers, now, according to my footnotes, there's discrepancies on which brother was basically the spokesperson for all this. And my in my New American Bible, in the King James Version, it says Judah was this, I guess, the spokesperson for the group of brothers. Anyways, Judah says, now, he told us not to come back without Benjamin. And the father and the sons go back and forth about, Benjamin, him taking Benjamin. And here's the thing. In here, it says, my wife had given me 2 sons. Right? And, the other son has disappeared or dead. And I don't want to lose my only surviving, And I'm thinking, you're telling this to your other sons. How is that making them feel? Like Rachel was your preferred wife. You raped everybody out. Well, you raped Rachel too. I mean, she didn't have a choice in this. And now you're telling, your male kids. No, who knows how many female kids he had, because they don't matter. Now he's saying, I prefer these two over you. I'm more worried about losing my other son than losing y'all. Basically that's what he's saying. Well, that's not basically, that's what he's saying. Go off and get the food without Benjamin, even though I know that you might be killed because of that. This whole thing is like elitism in the among the brothers. Anyways, so finally, what's his name? I can't even remember. I'm getting all these names mixed up. Jacob tells the sons, go ahead. Go on there. Take some gifts for him, for the, for, now, okay, I got a note here. When I was growing up, I remember hearing this, being told this story over and over again. And I wondered, didn't it, like, they had, like, if he said his name was Joseph, the person they got the food from, if he said his name was Joseph, and he's about the same age, and probably looks a lot like, but wouldn't they have recognized him as his brother, as their brother? But because I'm reading the Bible through again, I'm noticing stuff that, or maybe I noticed it before and I had forgotten it, because it's been years since I read the Bible through. I mean, many years, over a decade since last time I read the Bible through. So maybe I just forgot that I recognized it. But Pharaoh had changed his Joseph's name to Zaphenath-Paneah. And it says in my footnotes here that that name Zaphenath-Paneah means the God speaks and he lives. He being the newborn child. So that's probably the name Joseph was using. So maybe that's why they didn't recognize him. Anyway, so Jacob says, take all these gifts, take that money that you brought back, that you found in your bags, take that back with you. Explain the story. Tell them, we found this on our way back. We didn't take it. We're paying you for the previous stuff we bought. And he said, also take more money for the new food you're going to buy. And so off they went. And they met, so they come back. They go back to Joseph. And they tell him the story, we found the money in the bag, so we brought that back. We brought more money to buy more stuff. Here's gifts for you. Here's our brother Benjamin. And Joseph has, I didn't take notes today. And, they bowed and, basically kissed up to make up for, like, not wanting to be killed. I think, okay, this was another problem I have, another thing I found problematic. He says, let's have a big meal together. And so they, the servants, the slaves of Joseph made a meal. And Joseph ate separately from the brothers. And it said here in the verses, Egyptians may not eat with Hebrews. That is abhorrent to them. And then it also says that the brothers were seated from oldest to youngest, which surprised the brothers because they were like, how do they know? How would they know how to seat us? So I guess it was common that the oldest it was seated oldest to youngest at dinner tables, I assume, at feasts. So I mean, this just screams of ageism, classism, racism, culturalism. This is just every type of ism is like right here in these few verses. I can't see how, this is just another story. I can't see how we're supposed to find any redeeming quality in these stories. Chapter 44. After everything's done, they got their food, blah, 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 apparently. Joseph's going to send them off again, back home. And Joseph tells his slaves, put the cup, put my golden goblet, cuppy, special cuppy thing, in the Benjamin's bag. Also put, what was it? I think they said to put the money back in there too. Oh yeah, put all the money back in there. And then it's a silver goblet. And send them off. So the slaves do that. The boys leave. Joe then says to his slaves, shortly after they leave, Joe says to his slaves, go chase after them. And, accuse them of stealing the cup, search their bags, bring them back. So that's what happens when the boys get back. They're like, listen, we did not do this. Oh, I'm skipping ahead. I forgot this part. The boy said, the head boy, I believe it was the head boy, Judah, says, listen, if you find the cup in any of our bags, you can kill the one whose bag you found it in, and you can take the rest of us for our slaves. Because he's thinking, we're innocent, we didn't do this, none of us did this. So the cup is found, the goblet's found in Benjamin's bag. They're brought back to Joe, and Joe says, how could you do this? I was so nice to you, how you repay me like this? And they're like, listen, I don't know how this happened, but Benjamin, my father needs Benjamin. Let Benjamin go, I'll be your slave. Or maybe they all volunteered to be the slaves. And I guess what the moral of this story is supposed to be, that Joe then saw that the brothers were actually going to stick up for each other instead of trying to kill each other. And so this is where Joe makes his big reveal that, I'm your brother, and they didn't believe him at first, and, I guess he was talking to them a little bit more. Finally they believed him, and he says, go there and send, go back, get your father, bring him back. And then 45, that leads into 45, and then there's some footnotes here that there's discrepancies in this story depending on the sources. As in here it says, first Joseph says, go and get your father and you can dwell in the land of Goshen, so you'll be near me. And then Pharaoh finds out that, Joe's brothers are there and says, get a wagon, bring all your stuff here. Don't worry about all your personal belongings. You'll have plenty here for you to, have. And, but then in the footnotes, it's saying that, Joseph in his own name invites his brothers to Egypt. Only after their arrival is Pharaoh informed of the fact. On the other hand, from the Elohist source, it is Pharaoh himself who invites Joseph's kinsmen to migrate to his domain. So sad to say, I didn't read the very beginning of the, the Bible, and how, what tells how they figured out, at least this version of the Bible, how they figured out how it was to be translated, what was to be in there, whatever. So I don't know if this, but this was in the King James too, so I'm thinking maybe they used both them sources, and this is how they came up with this version where both Pharaoh and Joseph invite the father back with all the brothers and giving them land and stuff. So maybe they kind of combined the two stories and made them cohesive to where it was kind of an agreement with both sources. So they came back, and on the way back, or probably before on their way back, Jake says, "I want to see my son before I die." Close curtain. This is these 3 chapters were better than what I was reading. There's no rape in here. And, but there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of other problematic isms in these verses. And now, here's what I got for sale today. Murder with Honey Ham Biscuits. This is by A.L. Herbert. Talk about problematic. This is a cozy mystery. 2 African American women are the investigators. They're sisters. What's problematic about it is that it's written by a white dude of Hispanic heritage. Now, the first book, I did find that it was a little bit over the top when it came to talking about things specific to African American women. And by the second book, I was still finding it problematic, so I looked up the author. The author, A.L. Herbert, is a pseudonym for, I can't remember, Hernandez or something, who is the author. And that's when I found out it was a white dude. And so then I wasn't so kind. He said his reasoning for, using an African American woman's voice in these books is because he felt it was how did he put it? There was a need for that demographic in fiction, as the main characters. Yeah. I got to say, no. If there's a need, let the appropriate people fill that need. And if you're going to do something as offensive as taking on a whole different demographic than what you have realized in your own personal being, then you need to quit with some of the nonsense that's in this book. In these books. It's in every single one of the books. This is the 4th book. I believe it's the 4th book in the series. Oh my goodness. There is some very over-the-top hurtful stuff about hair and wigs and the way people talk. I hope this man really this boy really straightens his act up, because I told myself I'm going to give it one more book. The first 2 books were okay. The third one was the train was leaving the tracks. And this 4th one, the train had left the tracks. Okay, so hopefully next book they'll write it. They'll write the train, put it back on the tracks, and it won't be so that. I hope you probably will never hear this videos. So I'm speaking to the air. Nobody watches these videos, so what do I care? But if he does, don't do the nonsense you're doing. Quit with all that. Quit with the weaves. Quit with the wigs. Quit with the straighteners. Quit. Quit, quit, quit.